Greetings, beautiful people, friends, and family. Welcome to the Navis Kitchen. I hope you all are having a fantastic day. So today I'm going to be sharing with you knife skills. This has been requested a few times, so I'm bringing it to you, the skills that I have learned over the years. And friends, having great knife skills in the kitchen really helps you to stay confident and organized, and it makes cooking so much more fun. So let's wash our hands first and then we can start. Now, before the fun begins, some important things to review would be the actual tools. So to have an excellent set of knife skills, the knives themselves need to be excellent and reliable. I am using the brand called Shun, and I've left the details in the description box for you. The knife you see me holding is what we're going to be using for all of our tutorial today, and it's called the chef knife. So I'm using my 3 fingers from my middle finger to my pinky to hold the handle. Then I'm using my pointed finger and the thumb to stabilize the blade. Now my other hand, I'm holding my fingers in a claw-like fashion. So my fingertips are safely tucked away from the blade of the knife. And then you also want to angle the knife away from your fingers, all right? So maybe at a 10-degree angle as you use your knife to cut. Safety is always key here, all right? So that's how you're going to use the chef knife. You want the blade to be very, very sharp. The sharper the blade, the safer the knife. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to use a shallot onion for the first demonstration. We're going to finely mince half of the shallot onion. So I'm going to cut the head off as I have already done, and then cut them into 2 and remove the skin, leaving the hairy tail intact. You don't want to cut that off just yet because that's what holds the layers of the onion together. If you cut it off, more than likely as you start cutting, the onion layers are going to slide and become really flimsy, and that will take the safety mechanism away. Now, using the heel of your palm, you're going to hold that onion down as you slice toward the tail. A few slices, depending on the size of onion. And your next set of slices would be through the onion toward the chopping board itself. And they have to be in very close proximity to each other. And with your fingers in a claw-like manner, you're going to now safely mince the onion finely, cutting very close to each other. And then if you have bigger chunks toward the tail of the onion, just use the knife to cut them through, being safe at all times and keeping your fingertips away from the blade of the knife. And onions prepped this way are perfect for starting your stew and soup bases. Now the second half of the onion we're going to thinly slice. As I'm doing, again, I am protecting my fingertips, keeping them away, and using my knuckles to guide the blade of the knife and slicing really close to each other, just like so. These are perfect in salads. They look so pretty that way. You can also start a soup base or a stew base with those as well, depending on how you're feeling. All right, so I have some parsley here, a handful, and we're going to give them a quick rough chop. This technique is great for herbs that are irregular shapes, like this curled leaf parsley. So just use your blade to run through the parsley as I am doing. You can stabilize the tip of the knife and just use the rest of the blade to just slice through them, spreading them as you're doing so. Being careful to avoid bruising your parsley or your herbs, all right? So the sharpness of the blade really plays an important role here. The sharper the blade, the less bruising your herbs would have to suffer. And this is great for garnishing, for making pestos. So when your dish is done cooking, you can take your roughly chopped parsley and sprinkle it onto your dish to make it look very presentable. So the next thing we're going to do is a fine julienne of this pepper. So I cut the head and the tail off and set that aside. And then I'm going to trim the flesh of the pepper from the core, the seeds, and the white membrane. So you want the blade to be as close to the flesh as possible. All right, so now you see we have no white membrane. The seeds and the core are now gone. And now you can just cut it into two and then lay one on top of the other and thinly slice to create these long, thin strips known as Julienne cuts. Perfect for your stir fries. They look so pretty when prepped that way. Just look at how lovely they are. Same size throughout, so they will cook evenly and they will not overcook, especially in a stir fry or saute. Now the head and the tail that we cut off, we can cut them into different shapes just to bring a different dimension and a different look. And those are also great in stir fries. They do not overcook when prepped this way into bite-sized pieces, and they look just as presentable. All right, so these are very good ways of prepping your peppers. Perfect. Now those look great. Let's look at another way of prepping your bell peppers. So I have this red bell pepper. First, I cut the tail off so I can sit it on the chopping board without it moving around as I trim some of the flesh off from the top to the bottom. Right, what I'm going to demonstrate here is how to give it a fine chop. All right, this is what I like to call a fine chop. So I'm going to cut them into thick juliennes. They are perfect in dishes such as fried rice. So these vegetables are very colorful and you want them to stand out in your dish because it just makes them look so much more presentable. And as we eat with our eyes first, we're always thinking ahead and prepping our ingredients to give us that stunning outcome. And this is a great way of doing that. All right, so I have my thick juliennes and then I cut against the juliennes to create my fine chops. Our last but certainly not the least technique in our tutorial today is the Chauffeur Not technique. And this technique is well executed mostly in leafy vegetables or herbs, especially basil. And I have some baby spinach here for the Chauffeur Not technique. I've laid them on top of each other and then I roll them tightly without bruising them. And it's really easy to do. Cut them really thin, close to each other. Try to cut them the same size because they just look more presentable and inviting that way. And if you have some basil and you treat it this way, they're perfect in a tomato salad or even a caprese salad. And yes, very inviting look. Perfect. And that's it, friends and family, for today's tutorial on our knife skills. I'll bring you some more as we go. And I am a collector, so I continue to collect tools and equipment for my kitchen. And if I come across another knife set that might benefit you, I'll be happy to share it with you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. Make it a great day, friends and family, and have fun, especially in that kitchen.